Number 927, runway 34, clear to land, wind 040 at 7.
Land 34927.
Gonna go to the runway or parking?
Be advised, we're just currently working a maintenance problem at this time. I just shut a couple engines down. No emergency at this time.
We'd actually probably been flying for almost 2 hours, and we had just completed one of our what they call touch and goes, where we come down, we land, and we put the power back in, and we go around and come back around for another one. And we had done that, and that warning indicator light came on, and looked and glanced at all the engine instrumentation. Everything looked normal except for some oil temperature that was starting to creep up. And the good news is it's a 4-engine airplane. If one of the parameters gets outside, then the training is that we're going to go ahead and shut that engine down. It's called feathering the engine. We bring the throttle back, just like idling your car. And then we go ahead and hit a big red button, that's the feather button, and it actually brings the propeller to where it's in the streamlined position. And we went ahead and did that on number 3 because the oil temperature had risen past its limit. And at that point, we're thinking about making a decision. What we didn't forecast was that we would have the number 4 engine, which now had the indicator light come on. And it's not common, right? You've got 4 engines. What are the chances that 2 engines at the same time would have a problem? But again, we went through the same procedure. Okay, number 4 is getting close to its limits. Number 4 is exceeding its limits. Now here's where a little bit of probably experience comes in. So the best thing we could do is actually keep that engine running. We want to keep it running for a couple of reasons. It's still making power. The engine may be in a position where it's starting to fail, but it hasn't failed yet. It's still producing power. And I'm just going to bring it back so it's not running as hard. I don't have it throttled up real hard, so I bring it back to about half power or less. And I'm really going to count on the 2 engines that still look good and still have great temperatures and pressures. Those engines are looking great. And we're going to go ahead and make this a nice tight pattern. We called the tower and let them know what we're doing, and we just brought it in and made a landing.
We're driving over to Meacham Field, over to the Vintage Flying Museum. Last night we had an engine problem and had to put the B-24 down over there. The number 3 engine, the chip light came on in the nose case, meaning that there's a magnetic sensor in there. And if there's metal in your oil stream, it'll come across that contact point and it'll set off a light inside the cockpit to let you know that something's amiss. They haven't always had chip lights installed in airplanes, so they put them in there because it's a warning. It's a cautionary thing. It's letting you know that something's not right. Well, you may take the chip detector out and see immediately that it's a little piece of fuzz, but you can tell by the metal and the quantity, the shaving size and all that. You can tell, is my engine eating itself and falling apart, or is this just natural wear and tear? Because the oil filters don't catch everything. So I'll go talk to my mechanics, and they're the experts on it. They will have consulted with the engine shop by now. There's a lot that can go wrong in one of those engines. And sometimes they let go violently, sometimes they give you a warning. This time they had a little bit of warning.
Yeah.
Was it bearing, probably?
Yep, that's definitely.
It's all silver plate.
Yep,
so.
that's bearing if I've ever seen it before.
Well, we've got two trashed engines. We have metal floating in the oil system, meaning something's coming apart. There's brass, there's steel, there's aluminum, all different flavors of metal in there. So there's no way to tell what's coming apart till we get it all undone. May find out that they can be repaired a lot cheaper than we thought, but you might have to bite the bullet and rebuild them totally, or buy new ones. They're 1,100-hour engines, so they're not surprising. I've seen them go higher than that. It's not surprising that they came apart, but it's just the warbird business. It's just round engines and airplanes. This oil here is not, but if you were to pull out that filter and you find that inside there, then you would know, oh, that looks like, feels like steel. It doesn't move very well. So if you were to open up the chip detector and find that in there, a piece that size, something's really coming apart, versus if you were to find what looked like a cat hair or something like that, then you just know it's a piece of fuzz. But this was metal. There was no doubt there was chunks floating in there. When you start pulling out pieces that have part numbers on them, that's when you know an engine's coming apart thoroughly. The plane's going to stay here, and fortunately, we're not off in some little West Texas town that we don't have a big air hangar to put it in. So fortunately, we're here out in Fort Worth, where we got friendly territory. This is where our crew chiefs are at, our maintenance crews here. This is where we do the winter maintenance on Fifi. We used to keep Lil here until we got the hangar over in Dallas. So if we had to have this happen, this is a great place for it to happen because we've got the tools, everything we need to do the work. We've got the place, and we're in friendly territory, and it's close to home, versus being, 100 miles away on the way to an air show and out of luck, So if it had to happen, this is where you want it to happen. Everything else looks fine. This, you got oil blowing off of it, so we, who knows what's actually in there, what's wrong, but they inspected the engines when they got it in here, got the cowlings off, and there was nothing amiss except inside. So that's good. Nothing's blown out the side or anything like that, and there's no evidence of any other damage except inside the engine. So that's encouraging.
Unfortunately, we hit a financial block. We weren't able to get the money and funding we needed this year to get her up at the end of the year. But, there's light at the end of the tunnel. We got the first engine, number 3, hung. The second engine just got finished by Ray Anderson with Anderson Aeromotive. Great guys. They're shipped that out. We should see that next week. So we'll start the next process of hanging the number 2 engine, hopefully before the end of the year. Right now, the actual third engine is starting to be worked on. Unfortunately, we do not have enough money to finish it, but we're at least in the process of starting to work on it. So I am hoping still to have her up this spring. That's my goal.
You never say die with any of these old airplanes. If you listen to people who say it'll never happen again, Diamond Lil would have been cut up down in Mexico for scrap metal when Pemex got done with her, because that's what they intended to do. So, you can't give up. It may take you 2-3 years longer than you thought it would, but you just can't give up. And we're not going to. There's been some headway. The fuel tanks are done. The propellers are done. We'll get there. It's just taken longer than we had hoped it would.
Well, we are putting all new donated plugs in here. Yeah, we're putting in just the back ones right now because then when we tighten those up, we're going to do a compression check on each of the cylinders, and then we can put the front ones in.
New engines are so pretty. Yeah, this is an Pratt & Whitney 1830. It's the same kind of engine that the DC-3 uses, and a lot of people don't know about Diamond Lil was in the mid-40s when the company was still using it as a transport airplane. They converted all the engines and exhaust systems to the PBY Catalina style, and they did that because there were no more A-model B-24 parts. So this is pretty much a bolt-on from a PBY Catalina. So parts are a little easier to find than it would be, but this engine's been totally overhauled, and it should be good for 2,000, 2,500 hours. They're about $75,000 a piece to overhaul, depending on where you get them done and how many you get done at a time. But then things like putting the hoses on and all, your mags, all your accessories, that's where you start adding up the cost, because that kind of stuff that gets expensive to do, and then overhauling your propellers and everything. But this one's so nice, especially when you look at the one that we took off that had chunks of metal falling out of the bottom of it, and part numbers and the oil screens. This one's just a beautiful, beautiful engine. Well, we're coming to the end of what's been a little over a year-long effort to do some we kind of called it a restoration, but and it kind of was, but most of it was really in-depth maintenance. You see the leading edges are off. That was, we x-rayed the spar and everything and make sure that the spar is good shape, and it's in excellent shape, which is, we figured it would be, but the airplane's 75 years old. You keep better safe than sorry. The airplane is, you know, it's had a rough life. It's been converted into a transport. It's been converted into a lesser model of a transport. It's been converted into a fancier transport. It's had a lot of sheet metal cut on it over the years, a lot of things added, and then we started converting it back to a bomber, so there's even more modifications made to it. So there was a little bit of structural work that were going in and just tightening it up, you know, just things that have needed to be done. Some of it's been needed to be done for 70 years, and we're just not getting around to doing it, as sad as that is. This airplane has a wet wing. Meaning there's no rubber fuel bladders in there. You have the sheet metal that's in there, and you have sealant that seals the wing up, so the entire wing becomes your fuel tank. And what has happened is, and B-24s were notorious fuel leakers when they were brand new. The last time that I can tell by the paperwork that this airplane was totally stripped and resealed was 1962. So that's what we are just finishing that up right now. We're actually waiting for the sealant to cure. We can pressure test the tanks, then start putting gas in it.
We've got a lot of historic warbirds, and if there's one thing about warbirds, they need a lot of maintenance. And the B-24 really has always been a good airplane, and it's flown for many years in the CAF, but every once in a while, you got to kind of put them down. You got to, you know, give them the opportunity to sleep a little bit, let the guys climb all over them and do a lot of improvements. So they did some big projects. They did the fuel tanks, and they did some cosmetic repairs. You know, they got in there and looked over all the engines. And so really, I've got no doubts in my mind that we're going to go out and have a good flight today. So it's pretty simple. We're going to take it out, we're going to fly it around for 30 minutes, and we're going to bring it back. All that's on request is one takeoff and one landing. And we'll probably go out and just see how everything looks, make sure everything stabilizes. We'll take our time, make sure everything looks good before we go. If something's not right, we'll come back. But other than that, the idea is just to go out and have a completely normal flight. A lot of these warbirds, a lot of the armor plating, bomb loads, we don't carry those things anymore. So all of them are flown underweight, and that's good. That means performance is better. On a hot day like today, we're not worried about it. We want to have good performance if we lose an engine for some reason, and if one of the engines for some reason has a problem. We want to be able to still climb and maintain altitude on 3 engines. All those things are important to us, and it makes it easy when we fly them so light. At the end of the day, we're all pilots, and we understand our machines, and we go out and fly, and we stay focused on that. The idea, though, of after the flight, or maybe the first 2 minutes when you first get into the seat, you realize that you're sitting in a seat that you're not worthy to occupy. And I think that there are men and women who have served our country, and they fought and died for our country. I think this airplane is a testament to them. I'm just the one privileged enough to get to sit in the seat and actually recreate what they did for our country. Okay guys, we're going to do a little mission brief here. Al and I are going to fly. Al's going to be co-pilot. I'll be PIC today. Go out. The mission brief is to do about a 30-45 minute test flight. Make sure everything's running good. Take a look at temps, pressures, fuel pressures. If you got to keep an eye on that. If there's any fog in the tanks or anything, the first place we're probably going to see is in fuel pressure. Yeah. Any other questions? Anything I forget, Al? All right, let's go fly.
Yes, perfect weather. Everybody's excited right now. We're getting ready to go out and fly the airplane for the first time in 15 months. What we'll do is we'll go out and do just, quick couple of turns around the patch. Nothing spectacular, just make sure everything's working right and staying where it's supposed to be. And And you always want to do that after maintenance, kind of a shakedown. So we'll do that 30, 45 minutes, maybe do some touch and goes if the pilots want to. Then we'll come back, look the airplane over real good, gas it up again, and then go back out and do a couple hours of, you know, we got to do some training for currency reasons. It's also we want to put some more time on the airplane before we, you know, leave the local area in case something doesn't go as advertised. I've got, I'm fortunate I've got some of those qualified people in the world working here and that are associated with us voluntarily and otherwise. David's an exceptional pilot. Al Benzing, the co-pilot, he's highly qualified to fly this airplane, and both of them are left-seaters on the B-29 as well. So, you know, and then Rick Garvis, our head crew chief, is going to be the flight engineer, and Don Thurston, one of our other crew chiefs, he'll be in the back monitoring everything. We have somebody to watch everything. Of course, she's 75 years old. There's room for things to go wrong, but the reason you do test flying is to make sure you work out everything that you can possibly work out ahead of time before getting the public involved.
Fine. When they ran up the engines to max power and feel the vibration on your body, you could bring back some memories. You know, we were in revetments, and the one we were in, there were 4 airplanes. So when they all cranked up, if they were on the same mission, it was really noisy.
He had his chair out there. I saw him earlier. They're dragging it across there. They tried to get him to go up on the balcony, and he wanted to get down to here where he could see and smell it. And it's so cool to have the veterans out here to do this. It's the reason you do this. It's for the veterans. At the end of the day, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's a lot of fun to do this when nobody's shooting at you, and it's a time machine. You know, you're taking an airplane and something that Jim saw when he was 18, 20 years old, and now he's in the twilight of his years, as he'll tell you, and now he's out here to watch it fly, and hopefully we can get it flying, get it safely done, and everybody's happy, and then maybe next time we go somewhere, we can just take Jim with us.